In this video, we're talking about complex numbers and the complex plane. So when dealing with complex numbers have two components. They have a real component, which is this -3 here, and they have an imaginary component, which we have our 5i part here. So the real component is just a real number, and then the imaginary number, the imaginary component, is some imaginary number being added to it. So if you recall, an imaginary number, I, is just defined to be the square root of -1. Previously, we didn't have a definition for the square root of negative numbers, and that made all of our imaginary numbers. So the square root of a negative is going to be some imaginary number. So we can actually plot these numbers in a coordinate plane, very similar to the one we have in rectangular coordinates. But instead of having a x and y axis, we have a real and imaginary axis. So the real axis is just what the x-axis was in our rectangular coordinates. So it's the horizontal axis. So that's where we will plot our real components. The imaginary axis is just the part what was the y-axis in rectangular coordinates. So if I wanted to plot the -3 plus 5i complex number, first you would plot the real component. So the real component is -3. So you're going to go 3 to the left, so -3. And then the 5i just means you're going to go 5 units up on the imaginary axis because it's positive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So -3 plus 5i puts us right here, and that would be our complex number. So this point here represents the complex number -3 plus 5i. And really that's all there is to plotting complex numbers. They still have the same values, so it's a positive and a positive, negative and a positive, negative, negative, positive, 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 negative, sorry. But instead of being written as an ordered pair, it's written in this form here, and that would give us, again, the complex numbers and the complex plane. So let's try and plot another one. So we want to plot the point 2 minus 6i in the complex plane. So we have a real component of +2 and imaginary component of -6. So that means that on the real axis, we're going to go right 2. And then on the imaginary axis, we're going to go down 6. So right 2, down 5, 6. So this point here is our complex number 2 minus 6i. And really that's all there is to it. In the next videos, we're going to look at what relationship the complex numbers have with polar coordinates.